Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Dick Jacobs, the one-time owner of the Cleveland Indians, once said that there are two things that every man thinks he can do better than the guys who are actually doing it. One is cooking a steak on the grill, and the other is managing a baseball team. Since there's no baseball right now, let me amend that to the steak and making better draft choices than NFL GMs. I hear the self-proclaimed experts trading up, trading down, then trading back into the top 10. Let's keep it simple tomorrow night. At least one of the top 4 tackles will be available at 10, or linebacker Isaiah Simmons, or even wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. If the tackle still on the board is mekhi-becton, don't take him. Other than that, any of those guys are okay with me. Simmons is better for me, and Jeudy is just fine. Don't try to be the smartest guys in the room, even though you probably are. The D-Man Dennis-Manoloff is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into its 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. At this point, we bring in the D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, via long distance. We'll say hi to the D-Man. Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Hi, Les.
Hey, before we get in...
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Before we get into this draft stuff, and finally we're at the precipice of that tomorrow night, drop me a line here about the Boston Red Sox and what Major League Baseball did or didn't do today.
Yeah, they listened to us and finally came down from on high with their punishment, which really wasn't much. I think the draft pick or something. They got a non-uniform person for stealing signs, and they suspended him or something to that effect. But no players were affected. Obviously, the Alex Cora firing occurred well before the investigation, and that was primarily because of his ties to the Astros. But to me, the Red Sox got off with the equivalent of a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, much ado about nothing. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. The draft upon us tonight, tomorrow, and on Saturday. And, of course, you can hear all the action or watch all the action right here on cleveland.com beginning at 8 o'clock. We'll have cleveland.com's entire crew out there bringing you all the news that you need to know. D-Man, you got 4. First of all, this hype about 4 guards, or tackles, rather, who are basically the same guy, equal as far as their ratings are concerned. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Do you?
No, in so far as each team is obviously going to see these guys differently, and they're going to have different rankings. Personally, I'm looking at it here. I've got Thomas of Georgia first, Josh Jones of Houston second, Wills Jr. of Alabama third, Wirfs of Iowa fourth, Becton fifth. That's what I think the Browns are thinking. Now, that doesn't mean that they are. It just is my guess based on analysis of Pro Football Focus, how they rate things, and how much the Browns put stock in Pro Football Focus. My buddy Artie Johansson, who's a very, very smart football guy, he calls himself a fanalist because he loves the draft. He has them ranked Wills, Thomas, Wirfs, Jones, and Becton. So you've heard people talking about mekhi-becton, but I think the Browns are going to steer clear of him if he's available at 10.
All right, so if he's available at 10, that to me sounds like Isaiah Simmons is going to be available at 10 also. You're talking about 5 guys at the tackle position. You got a couple of quarterbacks. You could have 3 quarterbacks taken, right?
Yeah, right. And there were a few mocks a month ago that even had Jordan Love somehow sneaking into the top 10, which is not going to happen. But you definitely know that Burrow is going to go 1, barring the earth spinning off its axis. You know that Tua is going to be in the top 10. And I guess Justin Herbert. I'm not necessarily a Justin Herbert fan, but enough people seem to be. So there's three right there. And then if you add, let's say, three tackles, that's six. And now you talk about Okudah is seven, and Derek Brown from Alabama, the D lineman, is eight. And all of a sudden you're thinking, well, maybe, just maybe, Simmons can get to 10, with a little bit of a break. But you would think that at least one of your preferred tackles would be there at 10 if you want to stay there.
Well, I agree with you. Becton would not be my choice. Multiple league sources believe that mekhi-becton's drug test won't drastically affect his draft stock. It might have in previous years, but it apparently is no big deal now. Reports on Friday reveal his drug test was flagged at the NFL Combine. His thought process comes into question if that's correct. The test puts him in the stage 1 of the NFL's drug intervention program, and he can exit in 60 days with no more flagged tests. Multiple league sources believe that his draft stock won't be affected much by this. Ian Rappaport has the Browns, believe it or not, D-Man, making 4 trades in the first round. Let me tell you something. And then they would wind up with Josh Jones when it's all said and done. If that happens, if they make 4 trades in the first round, 2 things need to happen. First, I will allow Jimmy Haslam to go into the draft room and immediately fire everybody in the room. That's number one. Number two, every season ticket holder, Browns season ticket holder, must go in on Monday morning and get your money back. You can't have 4 trades in the first round. I was beginning to think that Rappaport was just kidding around. After all, it was a mock draft. That's not funny. Browns making 4 trades in the first round. Just take who you're supposed to take.
Yeah, Les, I hear you. But in your opening comments, which again were spot on, you also mentioned Jerry Jeudy, and I had said last week that if Judy's there at 10, I'd have to think twice before I passed on him. Let's say, for example, the Browns have their tackles rated as most teams, if not all, would do. Okay, they rank each position. And let's say the first, by some crazy deal, the first 3 of their tackles are gone by the time they pick at 10. Are they going to want to settle for their 4th highest rated tackle?
I wouldn't.
I don't know. So you weigh that against Jerry Jeudy, who to me is a really, really, really good prospect at wide receiver. I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to be a transcendent star, but he has all the makings of a really good player at the NFL level who can step in right away and help you. And by the way, Les, I know people might say to me, and they said last week, oh, what do you mean? The Browns have Landry and Beckham. Well, that's just it. Landry's coming off a hip. Beckham's got a core. You never know what's happening with Beckham. So I don't think the Browns are absolutely settled at wide receiver by any means.
No, and let me just say this, and I've you may not believe this, but I've never played offensive line in the NFL. But you've got these 4 guys, and now you're bringing in a 5th in Jones. And the question is, or the statement is, if you had 4 even before Jones, and now bring them in if you want, there's no way that each one is equal to the other. Somebody has flaws, and they all have flaws, but they don't have the same flaw. This is why you have scouts, to say, here's 4 or 5 guys, they're close, but there's a difference. You make the choice here. That's what you have to have. I can't believe that all 4 or 5 are exactly equal, and if you get one, you get the other. I don't believe it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Les, but here's the thing. There's such a variance on each guy in terms of beauty being in the eye of the beholder. I mean, right. I literally, in doing draft research, because not only for this show, but for tomorrow, I'm on WTAM co-hosting with Mike Snyder all night tomorrow night on the draft. And I'm doing this research, and I go to one channel, and that channel is singing the praises of Mekhi-Becton. I go to the next channel, and that channel's talking about Jedrick-Wills-Jr. being the best of the lot. I go to another one that says, how could you possibly say anybody other than Tristan-Wirfs? So literally from source to source, from outlet to outlet, there's a different view of these tackles. And then you have to factor in, Les, how do they fit the scheme?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the Browns case, you've got to have the zone blocker. You've got to have I'm sure they're looking for specific things for Kevin Stefanski's offense. And they're going to make sure that whoever their tackle is a guy that can play in a Stefanski system.
All right. Maybe, first of all, you're right about that whole thing. But you got 4 or 5 guys. There's no way anybody can tell me they are equal. One is as good as the other. One is as bad as the other. Somebody out there is better out of that group. And you better have the scouts who can figure that out. And I know you're not going to know for a couple of years and all that stuff. And some of the guys would have to switch right to left or guard to tackle or whatever they do. But they're not equal. And that's where you better have somebody who knows that.
Les, you know who my scout is?
Who?
Joe Thomas. I said this on previous shows. Joe Thomas should be hired by the Browns as a consultant, and I want Joe Thomas's dossier on these tackles, and he's my tiebreaker. If he says that this guy is going to work in the NFL, then I'm going to believe him. And here's another little, monkey wrench or another issue that you have to deal with is the size, the speed, the ability to pick up the systems. And how about this? Where they come from. Because I like a guy who played at Alabama or a guy who played at Georgia.
I like a lineman who played at Iowa.
Well, and Iowa's great too. There's no doubt. But you look to certain programs to say, all right, is this guy facing high caliber competition on a weekly basis versus maybe not?
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. Don't forget our draft coverage. We'll talk about it a little later. Starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Dave Bacon and I will handle it in studio, and we've got our people all out, cleveland.com, all over the area to pick it up. The Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings in the past 6 months, believe it or not. People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. Facebook.com is where you can find us. New content posted each and every day. We put a question up in the morning. You respond. You get your name heard over the air that night. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Dennis-Manoloff with us. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Without having to look at my face, we have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Time for some more NFL Draft Preview Bacon Bits. Player evaluation for the NFL Draft is more of an art form than a science. Andrew Berry is the Browns' Da Vinci this year. Let's take a look at the NFL scouting reports for the top offensive tackles in this year's class. Pay special attention to the numerical grade. 8.0 is a perfect prospect. 7.5 to 7.3 is a perennial All-Pro. 7.0 to 7.1, a Pro Bowl talent. 6.7 to 6.8 equals a first-year starter. And 6.5, a boom or bust prospect. Let's start with Jedrick-Wills of Alabama. He graded out the best in this year's class at 6.85, meaning he is a year one starter. Strengths: big, wide, extremely athletic. Quick out of the gate. Good flexibility and leverage at the point of attack, bulldozes down blocks. Power, balance, and feet are outstanding in recovery, plays with a nasty disposition. Weaknesses: plays too far forward at times as a run blocker. Will one-pop a block over sustaining at times. Average instincts and recognition against the blitz. Loses in pass protection due to overextending. Mekhi-becton, the huge tackle from Louisville, graded out as the second highest ranked tackle with a 6.7 grade, the lower end for a year one starter. Strengths: absolute giant with dense proportional frame. Boomer upper body, power, blasts kick out targets off their feet. Athletic enough to make his outside zone blocks. That's important in Kevin Stefanski's offense. Long arms that allow for emergency recovery. Weaknesses: weight could be a major issue without discipline. Opens outside too early in pass sets, unable to respond timely to cross-face stunts. Needs to get length involved in blocks sooner and needs to cinch and control rather than just shoving blocks down. Andrew Thomas from Georgia is the next prospect. His grade is 6.49, putting him right in that boomer bust range. Strengths: plays with a fierce competitive mentality, has powerful meat hooks for hands, twitchy movements to mirror and engage, effective technique on kick-out blocks and for pass punch, unique talent to reset feet mid-rep to improve leverage and positioning, above-average recovery talent to redirect with power. Weaknesses: tight hips limit lateral movements and pad-level battles for leverage, more of a mauler than a mover. Pass slides are choppy and lack desired smoothness. Gets caught leaning and overextending in pass pro. The fourth highest ranked of the tackles in this class, Iowa's Tristan-Wirfs, with a 6.48 grade, also right in that boomer bust range. Strengths: weight room monster. This guy can squat a bus. He's quick out of his stance and into his work. Lateral quickness for move blocking. Runs zone blocks upfield to elongate rushing lanes. Again, that's important for the style of run game the Browns want to run. Above average technician coming into the league, able to punch and reset his hands to battle Russian counters. Weaknesses: has dominant traits but doesn't consistently dominate with them. Average explosiveness into initial contact, inconsistent change of direction to second level movement, and issues with his sets in both the pass and run games. To give a better perspective of how these guys might develop, let's look at two prospects who graded out higher than all four of them. Back in 2016, this tackle had a grade of 7.5, meaning he grades out as a perennial All-Pro. Strengths: has the elite foot quickness of a high-end NFL tackle, very good body control and balance, excellent bend and overall flexibility throughout all pass sets. Makes climb to the second level with good timing and powerful strikes on linebackers. Weaknesses? Frame could use more mass. After initial punch, in pass protection, he'll lose his patience and reach. More of a finesse run blocker than a drive blocker. Great feet don't come with powerful leg drive. That was the scouting report on Laremy Tunsil, who made his first Pro Bowl this year after being traded to the Houston Texans. Here's a prospect from the 2014 draft. He was graded with a 7.0 grade, meaning a Pro Bowl talent. Strengths: long arms, excellent body mass overall, outstanding run blocker with the strength and power to wash down half of the line, creates surge and power with his lower body, can maneuver his hips, slides and shuffles and mirrors well. Weaknesses: could refine his technique and do a better job of finishing blocks. At times, quits after contact, lets defenders come underneath or get over the top. Aggressively overextends and occasionally loses his balance and falls off blocks. That was the scouting report for Greg Robinson. Was selected high in the 2014 draft, played the last 2 years for the Browns, but failed to live up to that high grade coming out of college. So the question Andrew Berry must answer coming up: between Jedrick-Wills, Mekhi-Becton, Andrew Thomas, and Tristan-Wirfs, is there a Laremy Tunsil type player or even better out there? Or are they more like Greg Robinson or worse? Again, NFL player scouting is an art, not a science. Let's hope Andrew Berry finds a masterpiece for the Browns' offensive line this season.
That's my point, D-Man, that you've got all these guys, all of them have strengths, all of them have weaknesses. They are not all equal. They don't add up together. Somebody is better than the other guy.
Yes, Les, and we haven't mentioned Trent-Williams and the possibility that the Browns could acquire Trent-Williams. Mary Kay recently wrote on cleveland.com 7 reasons why they should.
Okay,
and
we also haven't talked about... Go ahead.
No, that's right.
Okay, we also haven't talked about Josh Jones, the offensive tackle from Houston, and that's the one where Ian Rappaport says that the Browns make 4 trades in the first round. This is what they'll wind up with. Primarily started at left tackle in college, second team All-AAC in 2019, had 5 offensive line coaches over that 4-year period, so that doesn't bode well for continuity. We'll talk about that and more, including Williams. We will take a break. Good job by Dave Bacon on that, the Bacon Bits video, and that'll be part of our draft coverage tomorrow night. Speaking of that, More Sports and Les-Levine draft special. Join me along with Dave Bacon and the entire cleveland.com sports staff. We'll break down the NFL draft. Starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and we'll go as long as we have to go. See if there's any trades after the number 10 spot or more than that. Northeast Factory Direct, East, West, and South, they're all over the place, and they're going to save you money. In fact, they have a lowest price guarantee. You buy something there and find out it's cheaper somewhere else in the next year, immediately Alex will refund your money. We'll come back in a moment. D-Man here, Dennis-manoloff. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for How Come Quickie. Hey, D-Man, baseball time. If there is baseball this year, Indians second baseman Cesar Hernandez could be on a World Series winning team without ever setting foot in the city of Cleveland. Can you imagine that? He's introduced at the parade. All right, you ready for this? Dan Patrick, you know what he said 20 minutes ago? Any idea?
Wait, who is it?
Dan Patrick.
I do not.
All right. According to Dan Patrick, he says, expect this to happen. The Browns and Washington get together to talk trade. When it's all said and done, the Browns give up their number 1, their number 2, and number 3 round picks and Odell Beckham. And they get the second pick in the draft, which would be maybe Chase Young, and Trent-Williams.
Wow.
How about that? So this is Dan Patrick. He says when it's all said and done, the Browns give up 1, 2, and 3, right?
Oh.
And Odell Beckham to Washington. Cleveland gets back the number 2 pick, which could be Chase Young, and Trent-Williams. All right, I'm changing my mind a little bit about 100 trades in the first round.
Sign me up for that yesterday.
Do it.
Absolutely, if they could pull that off. Somehow I doubt it. But yes, I would make that move, like I said, yesterday.
Andrew Berry becomes general manager, executive of the year before the first exhibition game.
Right.
Wow.
Listen, I think a more realistic thing is, in fact, the Trent-Williams deal. I think a strict Trent-Williams deal, not something as robust as Dan Patrick articulated, but that. Here's the thing, too, Les, about this draft. By what I've been able to tell, you have a lot of quality players, but not enough superstars that keep top 5 teams interested beyond the Bengals and the Redskins, because the Lions at 3 and the Giants at 4, to name 2, have said we're open for business. So I think the Lions are sitting there and the Giants are going, you know what? Burrow's going to be off the board. Young's going to be off the board. After that, we're not looking at a 5-star guaranteed Hall of Famer.
And Okuda,
so we're trying to trade down.
Detroit's got to think that Okuda's going to be there, whether it's at 3, 4, 5, or 6, I would guess. If that's the guy they want.
But Les, I also think, and this is not to knock Okuda, but I think they're looking at him and some other guys after Burrow and Young and saying, okay, are they worth the number 3 overall pick?
Right.
If we can trade down, we'd like to do so. The problem is not enough teams, at least till now. I mean, it could change, obviously, running up to the draft. Not enough teams are willing to trade up. They're not getting any legitimate suitors for those offers. Here's the other fascinating component, Les. Because of the virtual draft and the possible snags that are going to happen with this whole setup, teams, I don't think, are as willing to trade as they might have otherwise been,
right?
Because they're afraid that there's going to be snags.
There's going to be a snafu there somewhere. All right, Ty Dunn of the Bleacher Report explains why a Trent-Williams trade would make sense. Let's take a this. Makes too much sense, however you slice it. With Williams, the Browns can absolutely reset the hype and expect to win big this season. I thought all the hype is going to be with Tampa Bay, but we'll see about that. All right, also available, Jaguars defensive end Yannick-Ngakoue. I knew I'd get that wrong. He's still on the trade market. Let's take a look at him. Ngakoue, 25 years old, 4 NFL seasons with the Jags, 41 tackles, 13 of those for loss, led the league with 6 forced fumbles in 2017, made the Pro Bowl then. Is that a guy you'd be interested in?
Yeah, just because he had a public Twitter feud with the owner of the Jaguars. And I was like, wow, you got to have some serious intestinal fortitude to do that. But he feels like he was wrong. Listen, we talk about how the Browns situation is toxic under Haslam, but the Jaguars lately, I mean, that to me looks like a cesspool from afar. And so if you could pluck a good player out of Jacksonville, by all means, try to do so.
Now's the time to do it. If you've been watching this show or hearing me for years, I've always jumped in on the theory of the best Buckeye available. Here's one available, Malik-Hooker, who's been with the Colts for the last 3 seasons. 51 tackles, 3 passes defended, and 2 INTs in 2019. Is that a guy you'd be interested in? The safety position needs to be shored up.
I suppose. I mean, I'm not as bullish on Hooker as others are, including you. But, yeah, I mean, you kick the tires on it and see if he's available at your price.
Well, you gotta shore that up. You got to do something with the linebackers. Wait, did I see that right? That if the Browns make that deal we talked about, is number 10 still in play for Simmons, or would that take him out of the equation?
That Dan Patrick trade would mean the Browns would forfeit their number 10 overall pick.
So they wouldn't have it.
It would become the 2.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. You can explore your interests, find a program that puts you on the path to a bright future. That's from Tri-C, offering more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu to find out more information. The D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, and I, we're halfway through. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Hard to believe this took place in 2004. Today in sports history, brought to you by Smiley One, Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Army Ranger Pat Tillman of the Arizona Cardinals killed by friendly fire in Afghanistan. What a tragic story that was and continues to be to this day. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. D-Man, we're bringing in your favorite guy, Mike Masetta from Nature Stone. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Les. How you doing tonight?
Where were you hiding the other night? We couldn't find you.
I was indisposed. You know how these cell phones are. I had my phone with me, and I didn't hear it ringing, and then I went and looked at it and saw I missed the call.
All right, well, you're
my
here.
My apologies to you and everybody out there.
No problem. We got some excitement going here talking about the draft. I understand the draft is finally starting tomorrow night. Andrew Berry, who you taking?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna stick with Simmons.
If they can get him.
Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. If he's available at 10, look, I think personally that there's two major positions of need for the Browns that could really put them over the top. There's a left tackle, and there's a second-level impact defensive player, a linebacker, type a guy in that second level that's like another Myles Garrett, but plays off the line. And I think that they can address tackle without having to go through the draft. I just think it's available to them. They could trade for it. There might be some guys through free agency. This Simmons player, there is not another player like him in the draft or that they can pick up through free agency or a trade. It's
almost
just
like
not available.
It's almost like you're getting two guys. D-Man, you agree with? Well, you did agree. We just got a little excited when we heard this Dan Patrick rumor out there.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Simmons, it would be almost impossible to pass him up at 10. I'll admit that if he did get there, if he did fall to 10, I'd wonder, all right, what are the other teams not seeing that I see? Why would he be allowed to get here? But after that, I would say I'm grabbing him. I don't care.
Yeah, but I don't think teams like to have the possibility of using guys at 2 or 3 positions. I think they want somebody concentrating 100% on one. That might be what they're thinking. But
Sure.
But Mike, you're absolutely correct. I mean, if you could get Simmons, the game has changed to the point where it's not Dick Butkus anymore at linebacker. It's guys like Simmons who can do a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, he's a 4-down defender. He could stay out on the field. He could rush the passer. He could play in the secondary. He can guard tight ends because he's a big guy. He could do a lot of things for you. And, one of the reasons why he may be there later than anticipated is because I think we're pretty confident that Burrows and Young are going to be the first 2 picks. I think that's fairly set in stone. Right. But after that, there could very easily be a run on quarterbacks and left tackles or tackles in general, because those seem to be the 2 positions at the top end of the draft where there's a lot of quality players. And if this run occurs, it could be that Simmons just happens to fall to 10 because everybody else is picking their quarterback or their tackle.
You know what I found out from the combine? You know how they interview these guys? And they ask certain questions. The one question they asked all of the potential picks were, can you say, wow, it's Nature Stone?
Goodell should be in his basement doing the draft virtually with his Nature Stone floor.
Well, you're giving away 30.
Beautiful.
You're giving away 30. You could every number 1 draft pick should get one from you.
That's right. 34 is for 30 years, Les.
Excellent. All right. Anything else we need to know?
Just really looking forward to the draft and getting some. I know it's not the normal way that we do the draft, but it should be very intriguing. Maybe even might be better than the normal way. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to some sort of sports activity that I can enjoy and take my mind off of it.
And next year, of course, the draft will be here in Cleveland. All right, Mike, thanks so much as always. We'll check in with you next week. We'll finally know who the Browns and everybody else picked.
All right, you got it, Les.
Thank you, Mike Massetto.
Take care.
Wow, it's Nature Stone. Northeast Factory Direct. 3 great locations, east, west, and south. And, of course, the website you got to check out first, northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll come back in a moment. The D-Man is here, Dennis-Manoloff. He's on the air tomorrow night on WTAM. He'll be competing with us a little bit here on cleveland.com. We're going to duke it out when we get back. More Sports and Les-Levine continues. Sokolowski's University, and they're just waiting for the okay to get themselves open. And when they do, they deserve your support. They've been doing it since 1923. There's nobody better. When they get going again, lunch 11 to 3, Monday through Friday, and Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. Back in a moment, More Sports and Les-Levine continues with Dennis-Manoloff, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone for up to half off and never replace your garage flooring again. Cracked, uneven garage floors are dangerous. Thin paints and poly coatings you can do yourself are slippery, peel, and don't correct problems. Why pay for a floor that won't last? Only a professionally installed Nature Stone garage floor is safe and corrects problems that paints can't. And Nature Stone comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, so there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at dennis-manoloff.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's check out this date in Les-Levine history. Les and his wife Allison went to a comedy club to see Beckham's comedian brother, that would be Mekhi-Becton, perform, named after Shecky Green. You don't believe that, do you, D-Man? Our writer's working overtime on that. 216-575-0403. We asked a Facebook question of the day. After all the speculation and talk, we're hours away right now, about 24 hours till it starts. From the decision time, what final words of advice would you give the Browns brain trust? Glenn Berger says, improve the offensive line in any way you can. The offensive line is the key to a successful Baker Mayfield. Dennis Davis, unless Simmons falls in your lap, pick a tackle. I'll be stunned if Simmons falls that far. Ted Moon, gentlemen and ladies of the Browns front office, please listen to the expertise and advice of your scouts. They have tenure. Draft the best player that their research supports and fills that need. More importantly, if Tua falls in your lap, don't draft him. Go Browns. Lenny Obremski, I think the NFL needs to prohibit teams in the top 10 picks from making trades. It's worked against the Browns several times, which is the opposite of the draft concept. Example, Dallas gets Ezekiel Elliott by trading with a high-pick team. Well, get better people making those decisions. That's pretty simple. Let's go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for George. George, you're on with Dennis-Manoloff.
How are you, Les and Dennis?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for listening in tonight.
Hey, first of all, let's go with the tackle. I'd rather replace Joe Thomas with a Thomas as opposed to bringing in Cleveland to Cleveland.
And along those lines, then bring in Clay Matthews.
Well, I like Clay Matthews, too. I was always a Clay Matthews second fan. I guess this Clay Matthews is the third. But
okay.
I'd like also to talk about Trent-Williams. I just wouldn't give up that much for him. You know, basically the Redskins, if they can't trade him, all they get is a comp pick is a fifth rounder in 2022.
Well, let me tell you something. Williams' value to Washington will never be better than it will be before the draft starts. The second the draft starts, that power goes away and it goes to the suitors instead of Washington.
I agree. I wouldn't do anything until the first 10 picks go off the board. I wouldn't give him more than maybe 2 4s, a 1 in 20 and 1 in 21. He doesn't play hurt. He's been suspended 2 times, and you're trying to put him in for a guy that played, pretty near 11,000 snaps.
But George,
without ever missing a snap.
George, if I may, he does have Trent Williams has a big supporter in his corner in Bill Callahan, the new Browns offensive line coach. So we'll see how much sway Callahan has if, in fact, the Browns do want to engage the Redskins in these Williams talks.
He coached him for 2 years, right?
I don't know exactly how long, but he's familiar with him, has coached him, and likes him.
I believe probably 3 or 4 years, but I just look at the fact that he's 32 at the start of the season. So was Joe at the start of his last season. It only takes one play, especially at that age.
Well, that's for anybody. I mean,
Correct.
you can't go into a draft or anything like that and say, well, what if he gets injured? You can't be afraid of it. Now, this is different this year because you can't get your medical people to check these guys out. But in general, if you're afraid of that, you shouldn't draft a guy like that. If they're
Well,
whatever reports they have, if they're concerned about it, get away from them.
right. Yeah, I would just stay away from him. I'd rather get a younger guy and go that route. Hey, and I did drop off a halftime quickie to the producer. I won't put it on the air. If she thought it was good enough, she can pass it along.
Does it begin with how come?
Yes, it does.
Is it funny?
Well, I don't know. It may be. It's a coronavirus halftime quickie.
No.
You wanna hear it?
No, I don't. No, there's nothing funny about the virus. But I appreciate
Well,
it. That's
it's
all right.
not bad.
Well, I'm sure it's fine, but not for my purposes. Thanks so much, George. Thanks
Okay.
for joining us.
Thank you.
George.
You have a great night.
Nothing as funny as a virus quickie. All right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. The D-man, Dennis-Manoloff, is with us. And we got a minute or two to talk baseball. You think anything's going to happen? I don't know. I don't see how they can play the season, but go ahead.
Yeah, with every passing day, it looks bleaker and bleaker to me on the MLB side of things, let alone NBA finishing its season or NHL finishing its season. The only hope that I really see is, college and NFL football starting up in the fall. But as far as the baseball, here's the problem among many. In order for a baseball team season to be legitimate, because of the way it has been set up literally now for centuries, it has to be lengthy. The season has to be lengthy. You can't play 20 games in an MLB season and think it's worthwhile, or 40 or 60. I think the minimum is 100. Some say at least one more than half. Well, that would be 82. You still have to play 1, 2, 3 months worth of games, and that's extremely difficult. What's that?
Double headers all over the place.
Yeah, and then you've got to think about venues and all that. So the one thing that won't happen is the Grapefruit League champion will not be playing the Cactus League champ. I guarantee that.
All right, so you make a great point that if you want to have something meaningful as far as the resolution of the season, you need to have a certain amount of games. There's another theory of what the country has gone through here, and if you go through this without resolving it, and you go through this for 3-4 months at this point, I think for morale purposes and business, I think you need it just to get us to feel better about ourselves, don't you?
There's no doubt, Les. And, as we know in this coronavirus pandemic, there is the health side, which is very, very real. There's also the economy side, which is very, very real. And within the economy side is sports, for whatever you want to say about it being a toy department or not being all that relevant. It is a multi-billion-dollar business. And a lot of people look to sports for a distraction, for an outlet, for an enjoyment. And so I think sports has value in a time like this if you can pull it off without compromising people's health and without making it look like a circus. And that's the big if. And I think that commissioners of all the sports are trying to figure out ways to do this. It's just not an easy solution at all.
And there's probably some things lurking out there that they haven't even thought of. I know they have experts in their field working on this, but you're not going to know until you know, right? Something crazy is going to happen.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Within the sports entity, if you look at sports as one big entity, within that there are subsets, there are offshoots, and one of them is the individual sports versus the team sports. And I think the individual sports have a better chance of getting up and running, i.e. golf, tennis, bowling, as 3 examples. They are easier to, I think, pull off in a pandemic when you're trying to isolate the athletes when you're trying to do it without fans than, for example, team sports where you normally ask for 20,000 in an arena or 80,000 in a stadium to come watch you play.
216-575-0403 if you want to get in on the last segment. If you want to get a email in, it's real-levine@gmail.com. I assume we have some quickies. We'll get to that and more with the D-Man, Dennis-manoloff. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com. NFL Draft Special, that's tomorrow night. Join me and Dave Bacon and the cleveland.com staff. We'll break down the draft starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, right here exclusively on cleveland.com.
Love it. Always wanted it, and there's never been a better time to get Nature Stone than during our Spring Weather Breaker sale. We're breaking spring sales records with up to half off beautiful Nature Stone garage floors, patios, porches, and more. Correct cracked, uneven concrete that thin paints and poly coatings can't. Every Weather Breaker savings comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, and there are no hidden maintenance costs. Schedule online today at naturestone.com to qualify for up to half off. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's take a look at the birthdays for today. Mickey Vernon, who beat out Al Rosen by 1 point in 1953. If Rosen got it, he would have had the Triple Crown, but instead Mickey Vernon gets the batting championship. Also, Jocelyn Ford Position, 1947. Spencer Haywood, first guy to go to the NBA directly from high school. Terry Francona celebrating a birthday today. Marshawn Lynch and Dee Gordon, all born on this date, April 22nd, 2010. The D-Man, Dennis-manoloff. Going to go over some emails, see what people have to say. George in Harrisburg, I understand what you're doing with that. I appreciate it, but you got to bear with me. I can't use it. Okay, got some How Come Quickies. You ready, D-Man?
Yes, sir.
All right, this one actually is a comment from Joe in Ashtabula, sent from his iPad. Hi, Les and D-Man. I know the Browns need help at linebacker and safety, but I really want the left tackle position solidified. Even if somehow they traded for Trent-Williams, I still want them to draft a left tackle. Can't count on Williams staying healthy or even playing 1 to 2 years. Don't want to be looking for a tackle during next season or during the season. That position is the backbone of the entire offense. Quarterback can't thrive without a good left tackle. I heard an argument today that Joe Thomas is and was as good as you can get. And they didn't win a lot of games when he was here. You give any stock to that?
It's not Joe Thomas's fault.
Right.
You know? I mean, he did the best he could given the circumstances.
Mike from Stowe has a How Come Quickie. How come you don't move laterally on sidewalks? You don't walk on the side either on sidewalks. This from Big Ed. How come I think it's wrong that only one company makes the game Monopoly? It's a monopoly. How come change is inevitable except from our company's vending machine? You know, D-Man, I'm contemplating writing a book on the evolution of How Come Quickies, and I'm just going to steal it from him, and I'll use it. Is that okay? You'll back me on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. How Come Quickies, the stay-at-home version from Mr. Gullible. How come when I told my wife I was thankful I have someone I enjoy being quarantined with, she says, yeah, it must be nice. He enjoys it. That doesn't say much for her. How come when I get lonely, I buy some shares because it's nice having company? All right, he should have quit after the first one. Pretty good. See what we have here. Probably Dave Patrick, as opposed to Don Pat or Mike Dan Patrick. Changed the whole version of the show tonight. John Patrick says, how come when I told my coworker I was ready to call it a night, he said it's 10 o'clock in the morning? Okay, that'll do it for that. You had a quickie the other night you used?
Listen, my wife told me to retire my attempts at quickies. They're just not good enough. They're not up to your standard.
Let me tell you something. It's like Herb Score and 100 other people said it, that when you go to a ball game, you're going to see something you've never seen ever in your life. When you give How Come quickies and just throw it up against the wall, one of them might stick as a classic.
But Les, remember what you were saying about when you were quoting Dick Jacobs? Another thing everybody thinks they're good at is quickies until you actually try to come up with good ones.
Exactly. This is a pretty good one, though. How come change is inevitable except from our company's vending machine? All right, now we're at the moment of reckoning. You're going to be doing a show tomorrow night during the draft or after the draft?
7 to midnight. So we will encompass the first round and obviously the Browns pick. Well, if they stay at 10, yeah.
Right. All right. So let's say it's 9 o'clock tomorrow night, 9:15, whenever that pick will be made. If they don't mess around with it, who are you predicting?
As I said, I think the Browns have Thomas rated as their first preference on the tackle side, Jones second, and Wills third. I think one of those three is going to be available, and I think the Browns will take that guy. In other words, the Browns will stay at 10 and take a tackle at 10 as long as he's one of their top 3 rated tackles. If the top 3 rated tackles are taken before 10, I think the Browns will try to scramble to get out of there.
All right, tomorrow night, starting at 8 o'clock, we'll have our own draft coverage here on cleveland.com. Dave Bacon and I will be in studio. We have people all over northeastern Ohio to report in and let us know what's going on from cleveland.com. Should be a star-studded event tomorrow night. We'll be here, as D-Man will be. We'll be here till as long as it goes. First round, 8 o'clock. First pick, actually, at 8:15, and 10 minutes between each pick. So if there's no trades involved or nothing, or the equipment doesn't break down, the Browns should be picking at about probably 9:30, 9:40, something like that. Is that how you have it figured?
Yeah, but you're right. You're talking about the big if. How is this going to go? This virtual draft. They've done test runs, but you never know until it actually happens.
Right. All right, and don't forget, you'll be able to call us during the show, before the picks, after the picks. Get your feelings on what is going to happen, what did happen. Should be a fun-filled night tomorrow night. We need sports back in our life. This gives us a little bit of it. Not what we'd like, but it gives us a start to get back. That'll do it for us. Thanks to the D-Man, Dennis-manoloff, and to our great crew here all affiliated with the cleveland.com. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.